The Arkansas Razorbacks have officially beaten their second-ranked opponent of the short 2021 season, and we need to talk about it because the Razorbacks, they're playing some solid football. However, before we do, y'all know the drill. I want to hear from you. Hop down to the comments, give me a Y for yes or an N for no. Are you surprised at how solid Arkansas has looked through the early portions of this season? Let me know what you're thinking there. And if you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe, hit that bell notification. I do constant college football content. You don't want to miss any of it. And if you enjoyed this content, be sure to like and comment down below because those interactions are massive to content creators such as myself and getting picked up and maintained by the YouTube algorithm. But with all that being said, let's talk about this because this was an insanely fun game to watch. Arkansas going to Texas and taking on the number 7 ranked Texas A&M Aggies in Jerry's World, which was actually really cool to see Jerry Jones get to see his alma mater play some really high quality football against a top 10 opponent in the Aggies and ultimately come away with the victory. That was pretty cool to see. But let's talk about the game in and of itself. And first and foremost, the Arkansas offense was humming in the first half. I mean, KJ Jefferson was phenomenal in the first half, and he was solid throughout the game. Unfortunately, the injury dictated that he not be able to play the entirety of the game. But when he was out, Hornsby came in, and even though they didn't have the passing consistency under Hornsby, all natural, he's a very young kid, that's going to come. He's a super athlete, though, and he displayed that. Arkansas was still able to drive the football, showing that this team, this offense, has a variety of ways to hurt you, and they put that on full display here today, whether the quarterback is going to run it or one of their running backs is just going to run all over you. They have the means to move the ball on the ground, and they did it against a defense that has been lights out through the early portions of this season in Texas A&M. But in the first half alone, it was really the tale of two tapes. For Texas A&M, you had Zach Calzada going 12 of 22 for 85 yards for an average of 3.9 yards per attempt. However, on the opposite side of it, you have Arkansas and KJ Jefferson is 6 for 11, 202 yards, 18.4 average. And that only compounded itself at the end of the game. At the end of the game, you look at the box score, KJ Jefferson, 7 of 15, 212 yards for an average of 14.1 yards per attempt, 2 touchdowns. The young man had himself a day out there, and it wasn't relegated to just simply passing because on the ground, he made sure his presence was felt. 8 rushes, 50 yards, 6.3 average per attempt. This kid had himself a day. And even when he wasn't out there, Malik Hornsby came in, completed 1 pass for 7 yards. And Hornsby, even though he only had 6 carries for 12 yards, displayed the athleticism that so many around the program are excited about. And so coming into this week, we knew Arkansas's defense has been a defense that's really solid. We knew that last year. Something I talked about going into this year was that Barry Odom had this defense really looking good, really playing some super solid football, and I thought they were a team we'd need to watch out for. However, I did not expect that the Arkansas team as a whole would be playing as good a football as they are, because they are playing some motivated football, and it is showing. And it's really cool to see how Sam Pittman has worked so well in this job with Barry Odom, the players they have, everything is just clicking, and they are most certainly a team we need to watch. On the flip side, for Arkansas's defense, I mean, they held Texas A&M to under 300 yards total. Anytime you can hold a top 10 team in the nation to under 300 yards, you're having yourself a day, and you will easily take that. Zach Calzada coming in for the injured Haynes King really struggled at portions, and anytime you're having so much trouble getting your wide receivers involved in a football game, it's going to be very hard to affect the defense. And Arkansas has a really unique way of getting the offense to do exactly what they want. They may only show 3, but then they'll bring 5, cutting off the run, and then the next thing you know, they're only bringing 3, and somehow they're still getting home to the quarterback, which brings me to a player. Because as well as KJ Jefferson played, that young man played a solid game of football today, both passing, running, and then the heart, wanting to come back in and finish the game with his team strong the way they started in the first half. I think that shows a lot of where this program is right now in Arkansas. You have individuals wanting to play for each other. That says a lot about this team, in my opinion. I could be 100% wrong. That's just me from the outside looking in. But the individual who I want to talk about is Trey Williams, big number 55. Texas A&M had 3 different left tackles try and deal with him, and Texas A&M had 3 different left tackles fail in trying to deal with him. And this young man is on a defense that anytime I've talked about the Arkansas defense, for right or wrong, I always bring up the name Catalon, because I think he's one of the better defensive players in the nation, and really anytime you're watching an Arkansas game, a name that you must keep your eye on. But Williams has inserted himself into that conversation, and he's a name I think pro scouts are going to be looking out for. Because even when Arkansas only rushed 3, big number 55 was there. He had himself a day affecting the quarterback, stuffing the run, and even in plays where he didn't get the tackle, he was able to adversely affect the play to allow those around him to get to the tackle. And speaking of that, all we saw all day from Arkansas was individuals swarming to the football. This is a fantastic win for the Razorbacks. Their second fantastic win of the season. Next week, they go play Georgia. Georgia is an entirely different beast altogether, but that's a game I quite frankly cannot wait to see. I'm going to be very excited for that game. Texas A&M, on the other hand, goes and plays Mississippi State a week before they ultimately have to play the Alabama Crimson Tide. And Texas A&M has some things to work through right now. And of course, it's always going to be difficult to replace your quarterback. I always acknowledged as much. Kellen Mond was a very solid quarterback for the Aggies, and replacing him is no easy matter. But the thing that always worried me with Texas A&M was not only replacing Kellen Mond, but replacing Kellen Mond when you have to replace so many pieces on the offensive line, because that just unearths a whole new set of problems you now have to answer. You compound that with injuries at both the offensive line and quarterback position, and now Texas A&M is back to the drawing board trying to figure some stuff out. So this is going to be something we have to watch going forward. Arkansas getting their second ranked win of the season. Where do they move in the AP poll? Because undeniably they are having themselves a solid season and are playing really inspired football right now. Can't wait to see their game against Georgia. For Texas A&M, it's back to the drawing board before you take on Mississippi State to try and get some things pieced together before you ultimately take on the Crimson Tide. Hop down to the comments, let me know what y'all are thinking. That's it. See ya.